Despite some of the biggest rappers in the entire industry coming back out recently with new music and moments that are trying to shift where the spotlight has been at in hip hop, this has not stopped Drake from continuing to stay active during this time where this summer has just become a public humiliation of him. But at this point, where Drake was once just throwing anything at the wall in terms of the antics he was pulling and the features he was releasing and hoping they would stick, now Drake has finally adopted an actual strategy at this point to try and save his image and brand following his beef with Kendrick Lamar, which is shockingly that now he is trying to save his reputation in a way that I don't think anybody would have expected, because Drake has quit rapping as a whole, and with his recent features, from his Camila Cabello collabs to his features on Gordo's new album. While it is no surprise that Drake has been making music that is right in line with the sound of his 7th studio album, Honestly Nevermind. Months ago, before the situation became as bad as it did, Drake was just teasing these collabs as the vibes he was going to be delivering for the summer following his lyrical duel with Kendrick Lamar. But recently, we have found out that these summer anthems were not just the type of music Drake was shifting to in an attempt to win people back after his feud with Kendrick with tracks that were made for this time of year. But we now know that this was phase 1 in a larger plan from Drake that is all going to include a departure from rapping. And now with something this serious and really pivotal to Drake's career and the entire music world. This is not a rumor that was reported by some major names in hip-hop media, or it wasn't said by some of the closest collaborators to Drake. But this was confirmed by Drake himself as this weekend in Toronto, at his OVO signee PartynextDoor sold-out show. He came out as a surprise guest, and amongst many other things, he announced that he is going to be releasing a collab album with PartynextDoor, which, considering that Drake is not like other rappers in the hip-hop world who love announcing albums that they never actually drop. As from collab albums like Her Loss with 21 Savage to even For All the Dogs, every time Drake has said that he has a project coming, it has been proven to actually release over the past few years. But now, out of all of the albums Drake could have announced that were on his radar next, at this point in time, considering that he is going to be doing a collab LP with PartynextDoor, this is showing us that right now at this point, where so much of the rap game has turned on Drake. And on top of that, already following a time where Drake has been shying away from actually rapping more than he has in years with all of the music he has released this summer. This album is really going to put into perspective that Drake has given up on rapping, and as Drake also only performed his catalog of R&B tracks as he came out at this PartynextDoor concert for over an hour, without even doing one of his songs that leans into the hip-hop world just one bit. Beyond the sheer prospect of this record, all of the writing is already on the wall that Drake is putting down the pen and paper, or his ghostwriter's pen and paper, I don't know, but when we actually understand why Drake is doing this, things become a little more confusing, and the reason why this is because although Drake is ignoring rap for the time being, and he is now trying to not just avoid the space where so many people have turned against him, by releasing a collab album with PartynextDoor, who is a signee on his OVO Sound label and is also from Canada. By collabing with this artist, he will be leaning more into his roots than he has in over a decade at this point, and now while Drake may not be rapping against his competition anymore, this decision from his perspective is a strategical move, as by working with an artist from his hometown who is one of the most influential tastemakers in terms of creating the entire music scene in Canada's signature sound and style, Drake will no longer be neglecting his own musical roots and jumping onto the scenes of others, which was of course one of the biggest disses thrown out towards him throughout his entire beef with Kendrick Lamar, because Kendrick humiliated him for turning his back on artists like PartynextDoor and the rest of the music scene from where he's from in favor of working with artists from other regions like Atlanta. And now in addition to this, at this point, with Drake not ignoring the entire music world and being a major pop culture figure, but just exclusively the hip-hop world, we can put together from this that he is trying to remain as a figurehead who is just as relevant as ever, because as we all know, Drake the brand is way too big to not release any sort of major body of work in any year at this point, as we have seen. But also, by doing this, aside from meeting his quota of saturating the musical market and leaning back into his roots before everything fully turns on him, I don't think Drake thought through that by turning his back on rap. While although Drake is trying to, what really seems like through his eyes, punish every one of his peers in hip-hop for turning against him or even just letting this absolute musical mismatch go down in the first place. Because at this point, as Drake clearly can't win against Kendrick Lamar by actually using his lyrical skill, the only way he's going to be able to answer back to Kendrick or the entire rap world at large in a manner that everybody won't instantly laugh at, considering the quality of his last songs, is by existing outside of it and trying to spread his musical wings and influence wider than ever. And while from Drake's perspective, this wouldn't be the worst idea, when you consider the stakes of this situation he is in and the fact that Kendrick Lamar literally lined out his diss tracks to state that if Drake stops rapping and goes back to being the guy with the melodies and the guy who makes people dance, he will stop coming at him. When you consider this and see how Drake is literally making his opponent's lines come true, all these actions go from seeming kinda smart on Drake's end to just flat out pathetic, because by literally quitting rapping after all of this and showing out harder for these other styles of music, which were always subcultures you popped into but never actually cemented your creative footprint in, Drake has pretty much admitted defeat to the highest degree without even realizing it, because by proving his opponent's words true, and literally leaving the thing that he was challenged in after losing, Drake is showing that despite the ridiculous reports from people around him that he has been unfazed and happier than ever since this beef. We now definitively know that this has all been a public act that he has been trying to fool us with, just like this full switch up in sound, and by doing all of this and literally quitting rap, Drake has somehow dug an even deeper hole for himself. I mean, any real MC in the past who has lost a rap beef, no matter how bad the feud was or how embarrassing it was on their image, for them to come back and get any sort of respect, Even the Biggest Losers knew that they had to keep on rapping and find a way to creatively move forward, and while Drake will never shift the public opinion on the idea that he lost miserably to Kendrick, the best course of action from here, and the only way he could actually go to try to shift this narrative, would not be to run away or tell your ghostwriters or whoever's writing these songs with you to drop their pens, but it would have been to keep on rapping and find a way to redefine and recontextualize your failure like Jay-Z did with his song after the Nas beef, Blueprint 2, which, while this self-titled song from his 2002 studio album did not change the fact that he lost, as the track was amazing. It made people realize that even a loss in rap beef is not going to demolish everything Jay-Z ever did, and even for Drake, he could make this same thing true for himself, but with this sore loser mentality and now this public spiral and meltdown, which has literally led him to deciding that he should just quit making rap music. This is only going to make the hip-hop world remember him in an even more pathetic light, and at the end of the day, as the reason why Drake even engaged with Kendrick Lamar in the first place was because he wanted to take the biggest thing Kendrick has had over him, which is, of course, the undeniable respect and love he has from his peers and the culture. Now looking at the outcome of this beef and the fact that Drake is going to be putting the mic down, he is now only going to be remembered in an even worse light for doing this, which at the end of the day, makes Kendrick's victory all the more powerful. So with all this said, let me know, what do you think of Drake?
I say this about that. When I seen the news yesterday that he was gonna be dropping an album with PartynextDoor, I was happy for PartynextDoor. Like, PartynextDoor has been writing all these hits. He's been going crazy in the booth. He's been doing all this stuff for Drake, and he's been getting no credit, and he's been getting no real push or backing from Drake. It's funny how Drake sees the writing on the wall now that he's done. He about to be done up out here. And now he wants to put the younger guys on. You should have been did that when your light was all the way. You should have did it last summer when you still had your light all the way. Now you can put these guys on, but it ain't going to be the same. It ain't going to be the same as when Wayne put you on and his light was still the brightest. You get what I'm saying? So I mean, it's still going to have a significant impact on their career, but it could have been a lot different if you would have put Party on maybe 3 years ago. You get what I'm saying? That would have been a lot better for Party. And I think it works for Drake because the credits, the album credits, you ain't going to know who wrote the song. Party going to write 90% of the song, but you ain't going to know because they both going to be on the credits and they both going to be featured on the song. So that works out for him. And it works out from the standpoint where, you know, he ain't rapping, he ain't acting tough. He just, he really going back to Drake with the melodies. So that works out for him too. Because I don't want to hear no more. Like, it's 3 Drakes I don't want to hear no more. And drop it down in the comments, chat, if you with me on this. I don't want to hear Gangsta Drake. I'm done with Gangsta Drake. Listen, you came out making I Get Lonely and all that stuff. It was cool just being that guy. You're like a male TLC figure. Just keep being that guy. The ultra, you know, sensitive, soft guy. There's nothing wrong with that guy. It was R&B singers just like that back in the day. Like, it's cool with that. Like, my mom listened to R&B singers like that, and they was cool. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. So the tough guy, he gotta go. Number 2, Drizzy Marley. The reggae Marley, you Canadian Jewish, and you grew up not liking your black dad. Where's Drizzy Marley coming from? It's actually more culture vulture stuff. That's actually cultural appropriation. That's what that is, and nobody's calling Drizzy on that. That Drizzy Marley moniker and alter ego is actually cultural appropriation. It's almost like he's mocking the Jamaicans with that accent and all that stuff. I'm done with that. I don't want to hear it no more. The third version of Drake that I don't want to hear no more is the best in rap Drake. That's done. You're not the best in rap. You're not one of the greatest rappers of all time. You're one of the greatest artists of all time. You're one of the greatest entertainers of all time. But as far as greatest rappers, you are out of that. You're just out of that equation. So drop it down in the comments if you agree with me. If you disagree, let me know you disagree. If you agree, say yeah, I agree. Cause you know I'm right at him. Ever since I seen that 17-minute video of him stealing music from underground artists and artists that haven't made it all the way, it just turned me into a demon. You know what I'm saying? So it's your boy, what's up? You don't forget to drop a like, comment, subscribe. Yo, y'all been killing it with the like button. Keep running up the likes. Y'all been killing it with the views. Y'all been doing y'all thing. Y'all been holding me down, and I'm super grateful, super thankful for each and every one of y'all. definitely be motivating me. Drop y'all comments, cause sometimes y'all be motivating me to like look stuff up. Y'all be seeing stuff that I don't see, and y'all be knowing stuff I don't know. So always put me down with your thoughts. This is really our community. This is our safe space. This is where we talk music. This is how we see things, and I love seeing y'all comments. All right. So it's your boy, What's Up, G. If ain't nobody told you they love y'all, I love y'all. I'm out, y'all.